Hi, I'm Sylvia Spears, Acting Dean of the College. I'd like to share some useful information with you about how we might partner together to ensure your son or daughter's success at Dartmouth. Please enjoy the video.
I am a recovering helicopter parent. Despite a professional career in higher education for the better part of the past 20 years, 10 years of which I was a professor where I studied and taught college student development, I became a helicopter parent the day I dropped my daughter, who is now 25 years old, off at college 7 years ago. I swore I wouldn't do it. I had seen so many parents fall into the trap, and I had all of the research at my fingertips to remind me of the negative impacts of helicopter parenting and what it can do to hinder student development and success. Nonetheless, on my daughter's orientation day, we drove on to her new campus. Peer orientation leaders bounded out of the residence hall, welcoming her to college with bullhorns in hand. One of them saying, "Welcome, Rhode Island! Rhode Island's in the house." I thought that was incredible. Isn't that a wonderful welcome? My daughter thought it was the dumbest thing she'd ever seen in her life. Well, I had run orientation programs, so before my daughter pulled me away from this young man, I became best friends with him. So tell me, how did you get selected? How long have you been doing this? Is this your first year as an orientation counselor? And my daughter watched me with that look of disdain. You know the one where they go, "Oh my gosh, there she goes again." The one that tells you if they could crawl into a hole under a rock, they would do that. But I still made best friends with the orientation leader. As we started to settle into her room, notice that I said as we started to settle into her room, not as she started to settle, I suddenly found myself hanging curtains, making her bed. I hadn't made her bed in years. But suddenly, some strange maternal urges had me tucking in her sheets, spreading out her comforter, tidying and folding her sweaters in the closet. I tormented my husband about setting up her new computer. I helped my daughter organize her desk, put away her clothes. I even pointed out all of the places in the area, I had spotted them in the way in, where she could buy laundry detergent. Because you know, that giant container, you know, the one that's like 128 ounces, was going to run out any day now, of course. She looked at me like some aliens had descended onto the planet and taken over her mother's body. When I left my daughter at school later that day, I felt good. I had done my motherly best. I was comforted by the fact that I had done everything I could possibly do to get her settled and to help her adjust to her life at college. We drove up 95 North. My husband looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" I burst into tears. No, I mean I burst into tears. I cried all the way from the New York, Connecticut line to the Rhode Island, Connecticut line. That's a good 2 hours. In that moment, I had bounded into the full throes of becoming a helicopter parent. For those of you who are wondering, what is she talking about? The term helicopter parent has been used a lot in the media in the past 10 years or so to describe parents who are way too involved in their child's educational experience. It implies that there's a whole generation of us who hover too much over our children. Some even describe helicopter parents as interfering in their child's life by insisting on roommate changes, editing papers online, even hiring a crew of painters and decorators to make their room more acceptable. You think I'm kidding. That has actually happened on this campus. And I think our residence halls are pretty spiffy. And don't forget the incessant text messaging, emails, and cell phone calls. A survey of 9,000 students at 24 schools quantified an astonishing amount of communication between students and their families. 88% of college students reported frequent electronic contact with their mothers. 71% with their fathers. I don't know what's happening with you dads, but you got to get with the program here. On the other hand, there are many people who believe helicopter parents have received a bad rap, because the reality is some level of parental and family involvement is necessary and important for a successful transition to college and a successful college experience. In addition, frequent communication shouldn't be confused with undue interference. It's only unhealthy when it impedes maturation and development. So I guess the question is, where do we draw the line between helping and hovering, between coaching and controlling, between challenging them to stand on their own and supporting them to take risks? The reality is we all have the potential to be helicopter parents. And sometimes there are moments when it is our responsibility to become helicopter parents. All you have to do is remember that young adults don't have fully developed prefrontal cortex in their brain. Any neuroscientists here? That means their ability to make good decisions, to consider the consequences of their behavior, isn't fully, completely in place until around 25. I'm almost out of the woods, folks. So the trick is to distinguish between when you're truly needed and when you should challenge your son or daughter to solve problems on their own. Sometimes we need to pause before bounding into a situation like a superhero. Our kids already know that we're superheroes. That's part of our job description as parents. The one that nobody told you about, other duties as assigned where you will save your child at all costs. Dr. Jennifer Jones, a professor of higher education at University of Alabama, offered a list of 10 considerations for parents of college students that helps them to maintain a good, positive relationship and assure success. Give your child a voice. If your child has a college-centered question or concern, encourage him to make the call or her to make the call. Don't make the call for them. Build a problem solver. Let your child be the principal problem solver when they face challenges. Provide guidance, but your child's growth can occur when they're negotiating through the challenges of their daily life at college. Be clear about your expectations, about when they'll call home, how they'll manage their money, and what you hope for in terms of their academic performance. No surprises is a good thing. Review money and time management skills. Place responsibility on your child to manage deadlines, to take care of business, because it prepares them for their future. Revisit those touchy conversations. What are you going to do if there's alcohol at a party? How are you going to handle a tough situation? While you might think, our kids are mature, they know how to handle these things, there are students who are in their senior years who are still trying to navigate some of these issues and usually get frozen in the moment and don't know what to do. Expect drama. When drama ensues, consider the possibility that the situation may not be as bad as it sounds. But also, trust your instincts because you also know when something is really wrong. One educator said to me, I think when my son was in elementary school, said something like, I promise not to believe everything your child tells me about you, if you promise not to believe everything they tell you about me. I was like, wow, that's deep. Embrace change. Remember that your child's collegiate independence is a credit to you. It's part of your success. The reality is that your child does not need you less. They just need you in a different way. And recognize that this is a transition for you. A large majority of helicopter parenting behavior stems from a lack of recognition that not only is your son or daughter going through a change, but so is you, so are you, and so are your family members. Prepare for the transition, build your support system. Know your resources. Find ways to be productively engaged in the college experience, like coming this weekend. And most importantly, remember the Parent Honor Code. The Parent Honor Codes should be a mantra for any parent of a college-age child. It goes something like this. On my honor, I will try to allow my child to be an adult, even if it stinks for me. My best advice is give your child two things: roots and wings. Roots are the foundation upon which they can build confidence and enthusiasm and success, and also give them the confidence to fly on their own, to make decisions on their own, and maybe sometimes to get some bumps and bruises along the way that helps them to grow, to be stronger, and to become the adult that you hope they will be. Roots and wings. So, raise your right hand. Come on. On my honor, I will try to allow my child to become an adult, even if it stinks for me. Have a good weekend. Thank you very much.